Hi folks, it's Switchback. Krista from Pee Style reached out to me a few weeks ago because she was seeing information out there that it is not safe for women to stand to pee. And of course, that would in turn mean that it is not safe to use a pee device. And understandably, given that Pee Style is her company, she had concerns with this claim. So she reached out to me because she knows that I have a background in urology. I spent several years as a registered nurse in urology. And I also performed many urodynamic studies, which is basically a bladder function test. And I performed this on all kinds of people in all kinds of positions. And so she wanted my input. One of the places she was seeing this was on Google AI Overview, which is understandable that it would be a concern because people will Google that before they're choosing to use something like a pee device. So I typed in, is it safe for women to pee standing up? And it says here, while it's possible for women to urinate while standing, it's not generally recommended because it can strain the bladder and pelvic floor muscles. There are 3 citations on the side, 2 of which are articles, neither of which cites an actual urologist. And it also cites a PubMed article, which is PubMed is a pretty reliable resource, but it actually doesn't use any of the information from PubMed in said claim. Before I get too far into this, I want to be clear that this is not medical advice, and this is simply based on my own experience as a urology nurse and in my own research. And of course, nothing I have to say is going to supersede your experience, your particular body, and your healthcare provider's recommendations. If you stay to the end, I will share a few additional AI overview fails that I found humorous, one of which is not family friendly, as a heads up, and I will repeat that before I share it. Before I get into this, I do want to say that when I use the word women, I am referring to people who were assigned female at birth, and I recognize that not everyone who was assigned female at birth identifies as a woman, that this is something that also impacts people of multiple genders and gender identities, and I see you and I am including you in this. And I am going to use the word women or other verbiage similar to that simply for simplicity, but I do not mean that to be exclusive. So let's dive in. The primary concern really seems more to be a cultural issue because women in the Western world are generally trained to pee sitting down. One of the articles cites a professor from Bond University who I think teaches in the medical program. Who knows what he teaches? But the only citation that he uses in the article is simply an anatomy chart of the pelvis, not even anything with any words on it other than description names. But he says that because women don't have a prostate, the bladder is not supported, and therefore it can be a problem for women to stand to pee. And this is very reminiscent of when women were told not to run because our uterus would prolapse. And if our pelvic floors were not designed to handle our bladders, we would be prolapsing like crazy, and we're not. And if that were also the case, then we would be having large, what we call post-void residuals, which means there would be a lot left behind when we try to empty. And we would be blowing out our bladders trying to strain to go all the time. And we don't have that problem. So that whole claim is completely moot. The other article is from a GYN, or at least the citation is from a GYN, and she states that it is basically a cultural thing because Western women are, for the most part, trained to, potty trained in a seated position. And so there can be a mental block when you go to stand to pee, which can reduce the ability to empty completely. I would say that there is some merit to what she is saying, and anyone who has tried to use a pee device and has never stood to pee in their life before that can probably attest to the same. Now, women across the world are trained to pee in all kinds of positions, whether it's standing, squatting, sitting, or other positions that I can't think of off the top of my head. And if you've always peed in the same position, then trying to do it differently can present a mental challenge. That said, with practice, you can learn to relax and pee in a new position. If this was not the case, we would be seeing through hikers with urological issues all the time, or other backpackers, and we do not see this issue happening. The things that we would be seeing if this were an issue were things like large post-void residuals, lots of bladder infections, and potentially backing up into the kidneys and kidney failure. We are not seeing this issue. We could also see bladder atony, which basically means that the bladder, which is a series of muscles, would not be able to contract and empty the bladder properly anymore, essentially having blown out the bladder, if you will. And that is not an issue that we're seeing because women are standing up to pee. I'm going to include links to the articles that I researched down in the description, as well as the 2 articles from the professor with Bond University and the GYN that stated otherwise. If you're getting any value out of this, be sure to like and subscribe. Now, some people don't see a need for something like a pee device. Yes, most people can simply drop trow and squat, but not all can and not all want to. And if you're not able to sit or squat, like I have had challenges with that with my knee, and I'll tell you what, pee style while camping was amazing. And not every trail is private, and there are things like ticks and poison ivy and mosquitoes. Super fun to get those on your backside. And not every toilet is sanitary, and those paper toilet seat covers really don't provide a whole lot of protection. And there are cold environments, and you can continue to stand to pee without taking off your backpack or your heavy winter gear. And there are people who just simply feel more comfortable peeing standing up for various reasons, but cannot do so anatomically without the assistance of a device. And some people prefer to pee into a jar if they're camping at night and they don't want to get out of their tent. And doing this with a pee device is a lot easier. And if you're on a road trip, it's a lot easier to pee on the side of the road with discretion when you are using something like a pee device. And if you don't have a lot of warning when you need to go pee, you need to be able to pull over quickly or stop somewhere quickly, it's a lot easier when you have something like a pee device. For these reasons, I prefer one where you don't have to drop your pants. Unfortunately, some designs do require that you drop your pants, and some people prefer those, and that's fine. I personally do not, but I'd love to hear your reasons for why you like using one. Drop those down in the comments below. Now, as promised, let's get into a couple of AI overview fails that I found along the way. I'm going to go from my least favorite to my most favorite. Least favorite, okay. Water will not freeze at 27 degrees Fahrenheit because its freezing point is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Therefore, at 27 degrees Fahrenheit, the water would still be liquid and would need to reach 32 degrees to begin freezing. So apparently water will not freeze at 27 degrees, but it will at 32. Interesting. This one is adorable. And this one was actually posted in the Durston Gearheads group by Dan Durston. So Durston steaks versus groundhogs. Durston steaks are tent steaks while groundhogs are rodents. Durston steaks come in different sizes and are made of DAC material, while groundhogs are mammals with fur. So I love this one. It just makes me laugh every time I read it. It's so innocent, and it actually has since been corrected. I did Google it. Versions are, I'm not even going to bother reading it to you, but I will tell you that it has been corrected. And now for the one that is not safe for work. So if you have children listening to this, you can have them exit. So what is 2 in the pink and 1 in the stink? It is a playful rhyme used when talking about shoes, meaning 2 feet are neatly fitted in the pink, while 1 is not properly on and therefore in the stink, essentially a little bit messy or uncomfortable. Also, it is a mnemonic device that helps children remember how to put on their shoes. That is incorrect. I was like, wow. If you do want to know what that phrase means and you don't know, I would recommend looking at Urban Dictionary. But circling back to pee devices, now that you know that they are safe to use, you can see my video comparing the Pee Style and the Go Pee, 2 of my favorites, up in this video right here. Thank you so much for watching. Again, be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye! I love nothing more than when I get through recording a video, except it didn't record. The best.